Good evening, my fellow Michiganders. Good evening, my fellow Americans. Holy cow. We were only going to talk about one subject tonight, which was going to be the schools and the mask and give you options. But lo and behold, the governor gave us another gold nugget. So we're going to talk about her decision to close the bars, at least the indoor bars in the lower part of Michigan again, and have rules in place again for all of us. So we're going to get to a couple different subjects tonight, but it feels like we're in the movie The Matrix. You know, it really truly does. Like, we live in the Twilight Zone right now, because as we go through with this thing, we're just like, it's not even surprising anymore when these things take place. We kind of just like, yep, weird. It's not like a blindside hit anymore. We just all sit back and we say, we expect that. And so I don't want to tell you all that I told you so, but I told you this 2 months back. I told you this whole narrative of what was going to happen, and I'm going to predict the narrative here in the fall, because I've always told you from the very beginning, I'm going to care about you, I'm going to inform and educate you, and I'm going to activate you. And I will always live by the 2 golden rules. Is number 1, always do what's right and always tell you the truth. And that's what I'm going to do today. But I told you all, the deaths, people are going to start to slowly, the death is going to start to go down. And then what was going to happen? They are going to increase testing. And once they increase testing, even though you don't show any signs and symptoms, there were going to be more people that what? Test positive. And that was the narrative that they were going to run with to slow up the opening, right? Or shut it down again. And so that's what's going to happen in the fall. I'm going to get to that later on. So let's talk about some obvious things. So today, a couple hours ago, she just released that all the bars in the lower part of Michigan, again, are closing indoor bars. You can still sit out in your patio. Thank you, Governor, for allowing us to sit outside. Thank you for allowing that. We appreciate that. But then she says you can get drinks on the go. What? Or cocktails. I'm sorry. Let me back up. You can get cocktails to go, she said. So we're going to drink and drive now. I know that's not what she meant. But holy cow, when you say stuff like that, cocktails to go, so drinking and driving, that's almost as bad as her saying, hey, why don't you just Google how to haircut, right? So when you say stuff like that, you just can't. Now's not the time and place. So it's the bar's fault now, right, that the infection's going out, because I guess they traced some bar having over 100 cases because they contact traced them. So it's all the bar's fault, not the tens of thousands of people that were protesting. Again, not against anybody's right to protest, but we're not going to blame them. We're not going to blame them. And so much, in fact, that I saw pictures of her kneeling with them, protesting with them, right? But that's okay. That's okay. But it's the bar's fault. That's what it is. And so we're just going to shut down the bars and allow you to eat out, or allow you to go outside, but not inside anymore. So let's talk about this beautiful narrative that's been going on. And so I said this on an earlier video today. I don't want anybody to forget this narrative from the very beginning. Because as we go through this, as we continue to deal with these little storms that she's throwing at us, people will tend to forget how this all started and what the goals and the objectives were. So I wanted to get on here tonight to kind of revisit some things and revisit to what her narrative was in the beginning. So we all know when she brought down the tyrannical hammer and start taking away our constitutional freedoms, right? On where we can and can't go, what we can and can't buy. We can't go fishing. We can, we talked about this before. We can go on a kayak, but not a motorboat. All that stuff was to do what initially was to flatten the curve. Flatten the curve. We didn't want to overwhelm the hospitals, which made sense in the beginning. But as the data is starting to reveal, even though she wouldn't reveal the hospitalization data to us, but she continued down with that narrative. And as we start to see, and we start to slowly wake up and say, well, wait a minute, there's hospitals laying people off. There's hospitals closing up. So we already flattened the curve. So why are we continue to do this? Then the narrative slowly changed to not flatten the curve anymore and not to overwhelm the hospital system, but cases and deaths. Cases and deaths. And that's all we've been hearing throughout the last several weeks is what? Cases and deaths. And now we don't hear a lot of the deaths anymore, do we? Now what is it? It's just cases. It's just cases. So we went from the beginning to flatten the curve, now to cases and deaths, but we don't mention the deaths anymore. Now it's just the cases. So the more people that you test, what happens? The more cases you're going to get. And I'm starting to read that if I get infected with COVID and I test positive, when I go back and test positive again, that's 2 positives, not 1, it's 2. So that's simple statistics, folks. So the more you test, the more cases that you're going to have. So when you start hearing that, like, I don't care how many people, we need herd immunity. I said right from the beginning, and this is true, quarantine will not cure COVID. It will not. Social distancing will not cure COVID. Mask will not cure COVID. It's not a matter of if you get this virus, it's when. We need it to go through, and the healthy people need to get it to build immunity so we can get it out of here. But what we're doing, we're just slowing the process. We're just slowing the process. And so we're going to talk about some things. If you're immunocompromised and you're elderly, quarantine yourself. Let the 99% of us get it, get over it, and then we won't spread it anymore. Do you see the insanity of what's going on? People tend to think if I wear a mask, I'm going to protect everybody. No, you're delaying the inevitable. You're going to probably get COVID. And what are we waiting for? A vaccine to save the day? The flu vaccine has what? I don't even know, 40 to 60% effective rate because it mutates. Does COVID mutate? So if we're waiting on that, we're never going to get out of this thing. But I'm sure once November's over, that's when everything will just mysteriously disappear, right? If you don't think this is political, folks, then you're blind as a bat. Because everything that's leading up to this, we all know it's November, and I'm going to get in the narrative of the school systems. But let's talk about the bars just real quick. Indiana, still operating at 75% capacity. Ohio, open for businesses. Again, we're shutting down the bars in the inside and lower part of Michigan, and there must be some mysterious force field that when you travel over to Ohio and India, it just vaporizes COVID. That must be what happens because we're going down the definition of insanity again, or what she already did, right? So this is the stuff I'm going to bring to your attention, allow you to open up your eyes and see, and most of us on here are seeing this. Unfortunately, there are people that still think, that truly believe, and this is what people have to understand, and I don't know what percent it is in the state of Michigan, but it's a high percent, folks. It's not the minority. It's probably 30, 40, 50, 60. I don't know what percent it is, but they truly believe that this governor is saving them. That her decision is saving Michigan. Not that she's driving our economy in the ground. Not that she's going to sacrifice our kids. We're going to get in the school system here for a political agenda. If you're not starting to see the bigger picture, we have to start opening our eyes. So here's number 1. You need to share this video with everyone tonight. If you're watching this, if you're agreeing, if you're resonating with what I'm saying, you share this puppy on your timeline. Get the message out. We have to demolish the narrative because she continues to switch. So here I'm going to drop this little statistic bomb on you that I just found. Okay? You can find this. You have to search pretty gosh darn hard to find the statistic because it's buried, but it's there. It's on the Michigan Department of Human Health and Services website, the MDHHS. As of 4:25 today, p.m., July 1st, I found the stat. And when I read this, I was a little shocked. 325 COVID hospitalizations currently. And when I read that, I was like, holy cow, that's in a hospital? 325, that's a lot. No, it's not in a hospital. So then I thought maybe it's Detroit. Maybe it's all the Detroit hospitals. Nope. Southwest Michigan? Southeast Michigan? Lower part of Michigan. Maybe it's in the lower part, not including the UP. You get where I'm getting at. 325 hospitalizations of COVID in the entire state of Michigan. 325 hospitalizations of COVID in the entire state of Michigan. It's there, folks. The data's right there. Look it up. That's all you have to do. You have to educate yourself. You got to look at this stuff because it's right there. So what's all the fear? So let's evolve this from bars because I know that's where we're just used to this. Let's go to schools, which Iowa is planning to open as normal, right? No mask, no social distancing, opening up as normal. So schools, we have a 3, 4, and 5 phase plan. You guys are going to have to read all this. I'm going to give it very brief, and I'm just going to hit some outlines right now. Phase 3, Phase 4, and Phase 5, okay? There's criteria with different ones, but just to sum it up real quick, 3 is everybody's mandatory wearing mask. There's a lot of other stipulations in there. Phase 4 is kindergarten to 5th grade, don't wear mask, but 6th grade up to 12th grade, they're mandatory, and Phase 5 is just recommended. Okay, so we have our different phases. And a lot of people read that, and it's a pretty good plan if the virus was really doing what they tell us that it's going to do, and it's bigger than the 325 hospitalizations in the entire state of Michigan. Like if this was a virus that really had teeth, the plan looked good, but not for a virus that you have over a 99% chance of living from. And to subject your kids to this, it's up to you as a parent to make up this decision, okay? So people are saying, hey, man, I hope we're at Phase 5 by September. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? And I would totally 100% agree with you. However, this governor has power. And as soon as these cases go up, what's going to happen in October when the cold and flu season come? And everybody starts getting the sniffles. Whew. Masks are mandatory. It's not Phase 5 anymore. We're going to bring it down Phase 3. They may even lock it down at that time. Okay? So as we go through these different scenarios of what you can do, you have to really think long-term here. Okay? So you have 3 options. Number 1, you can consent and you can say, I don't care. My kid is going to wear a mask. That's fine. I just want him to go to school. If you make that decision, which is your every right, if you do that and you are going to have your child wear a mask, all I ask, be positive about it. Don't put any negative energy on your kid. Be positive about it. Do what you have to do. Don't allow the mask to affect your kid because it will. But be as positive as you can. That's the only thing I ask. So you can consent, which there are some parents they're willing to do, and that's okay. Number 2, you don't consent. And you want to start pulling what's called that medical waiver that you read about in the plan. And in that plan, it says if you are medically incapable of wearing that mask, then you don't have to wear the mask. Now, that was very gray area to me. It didn't really show the details, so I don't know if that means it's just the parent's decision to say, hey, you know what? I don't want my kid to wear this, and that's great. Or do you need some type of medical waiver? Like do you have to go to a medical doctor and plead your case on why you don't want that kid to wear that mask, right? Because there's a lot of people on here that I've been seeing that, you guys are working. Mom and dad, you may be a single parent, or mom and dad may both work, and you can't stay homeschool your kids, right? You can't stay at home. So they're in a rock and a hard place right now. But what you can do, and you're like, well, I don't know if I have any leverage. So let me tell you about what I just learned today. This has not been confirmed, but this is from a reliable source, that the student budget right now is in trouble. It truly is. And I found out that 10% of the students, if they pull out, the school systems are going to be hurt bad. So much, in fact, that most of the school will not be able to return as normal. Only 10%. So that means all of us out there who are doing public schools, right? If 10% of Michigan parents say, nope, I'm not doing this, and they pull out, the schools are going to have to react to it. Because again, I have to look this up. It's not confirmed, but it's from a reliable source that each kid that goes to public schools is like $8,000 per kid to that school system. So you have leverage. Because if you want to take advantage of public school systems and you want your child to go there and you don't want to wear them a mask, then you need to start making calls to the principal, the superintendent, to the school board, and having face-to-face and let them know that you're not going to consent to that. You want the medical waiver. You want to make sure you get that. And if you get it, great. Okay, but you want to make sure you start having those conversations because you have the leverage right now, because not only is the school budget hurting, but it's $8,000 or in around that in some schools per kid. So that's a lot of money to the school system. So you have every right to go up there and have a conversation. And so that's why I always tell everybody on here, do the research and have the conversations. If you do not want your kid to wear a mask, go fight for it, okay? Or number 3, you can decide to pull your kid out and homeschool. And I'm going to be transparent with all of you, and I'm going to tell you why I'm making this decision for myself, is my wife and I talked, and we're going to decide we're going to homeschool our kids. The Soldano clan will be staying at home for this school year, unless things change. If everything opens up as normal by fall and there's not any of these different phases, then we'll consider doing public schools again. However, here's what I'm worried about. And as you read that plan, and this is one of the things that I am going towards homeschool, is number 1 is if somebody tests positive for COVID. Because look, the cold and flu season is going to come. The kids are going to get sick. And so what happens when the kid gets a cold or flu is they quarantine for 14 days. The only way they can come back is if they get the COVID test and it's negative. All right? Or they got to quarantine themselves for 14 days. I think that's what it says and how I read it. So if that's the case, if somebody tests positive, and kids don't get COVID that much, but if somebody does test positive, anybody within a 6-foot radius more than 15 minutes has to also quarantine. So then I start running numbers in my head like, okay, what happens if the teacher gets sick? What happens if the teacher gets COVID and they're out? And what happens if they interact with other teachers or other kids? Those kids are quarantined. And then we have substitute teachers in there. Do you see how this can get out of control and how it can really strain on the school system? If we have, what happens like 17 kids in the school system test positive for COVID or several teachers? What happens to that school system? Like it's basically shut down. They're not going to have the people to support it and to run it. And so then what are they going to do? They're going to shut the school down. And I know, and I don't want to be surprised. That's one scenario. I don't want to be surprised again and the school shut down or there's a mass outbreak for some reason. It's probably not going to happen. But people, they're going to get the cold and flu. So what, are they going to shut down school again? And then you're going to be the inconvenience that time like, holy cow, I know it was a disaster for my family on when we tried to do this, when we got blindsided and the school shut down, the kids stayed at home and we didn't have a plan and everything was just kind of put together. We just don't want to go through that again. So we as parents looking at the outlook of this thing, it's just not worth it to us to take that chance to go through that again. I'd rather be structured and have a plan. And so if the school shuts down, cool. If there's a mass outbreak in COVID, that's whatever. My kids can still get the education that they need to thrive on this beautiful cosmic journey called life. That is one scenario. The other scenario is if the governor, if there's a big spike in flu, cold, or COVID this fall, because they said there might come back, then they're going to shut down the entire school system again. Again, we're going to be put out. And so those are kind of the three scenarios right now, folks. So you're going to have to make the best scenario for yourself and your family. And if you consent and do the mask, awesome, good for you. But if you don't want your kid to wear a mask, then you're going to have those conversations with the superintendent, with the principals, with the school board to say, hey, look, I'm not consenting to this. And if you don't do this, I'm pulling my kid out or we're going somewhere else. All right. So I don't know if some schools, or this is the minimal policy, she said, all schools got to follow it. Charter, Catholic, or the private schools, public schools, everybody has to follow these minimal guidelines. So I don't know if going to different schools is going to help. I don't know what that answer is. I don't have all the answers for you. We're all in a huge mess right now. A huge mess that has over a 99% chance of surviving in only 325 hospitalizations in the entire state of Michigan right now for us to have this amount of rules and regulations and masks for our kids. Look, man, there's so much data out there now. That's the problem with the internet, social media, everything. There's so much on both sides. So you're for masks or against masks, you're in the middle. That's where we're at. And we got medical professions, neurosurgeons, all these very high profile people that are educated, and they're basically arguing with each other on what's right. The CDC and the WHO don't agree. We have medical professionals, neurosurgeons, they don't agree. So we're sitting in the middle going, who do we believe? That's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to let them figure it out. However, I'm going to do the data myself and say, okay, we have a 99% chance of living through this, and there's only 325 hospitalizations right now with COVID, and why are we bringing down the hammer again? And so what's going to happen in October? It's a vicious cycle, what's going on. And so we have to start really looking at these things and stand up. We have to stand up with this. And again, what I told you right from the very beginning, if you don't think this is political, then you're as blind as a bat. You really, truly are. And this is why I hate politics. Man, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry if I offended any politician out there right now. I don't like politics. Because politicians, and I don't know them all, but it seems as though this experience has taught me that there are some politicians out there that are all just about political gain, and they're going to do whatever they can to get those votes, to make themselves look good, and not do the golden rule, which is always do what's right. That's just my humble opinion. I don't know. That's my perception with it. That's my truth as of right now, because when I have an elected official making these types of decisions when the data doesn't support it, and she's never even showed us the data from the beginning, and she's making all these executive orders without having the support of the elected official, the legislators, to me, that's a problem. If you're in that position, just because that rule's there, that 1945 law's there, doesn't mean you continue to do it. You could look like an amazing leader if you respect that law and say, you know what? I'm not going to pull that law anymore. I'm going to start having conversations with the Senate and the House. And let's work together, all of us. And let's do what's best for our children. Let's do what's best for our businesses. Let's do what's best for Michigan. And when you have an elected official that continues just to bring down the tyrannical hammer and rule the state as a dictator, don't you feel, I don't care if you voted for this woman or not, as an American, you should know that's not right. No governor should ever have this much power, and no governor should continue to have this much power. And after listening to me tonight, if you don't think we got to repeal 1945, then you don't have a flipping heartbeat. If there is a reason for you to support this petition that we're going to start next week, I just gave it to you because the data supports everything I just said. Look it up yourself. It's all right there. So here's your call to action, folks. Not only for you, I'm so sorry for the parents out there that have to make these hard decisions. I was one of them. And I'm sorry for the teachers. I'm seeing comments on here. I'm seeing teachers saying, I'm not going back to work. I'm not wearing a mask. I don't consent. So we have good teachers, great teachers who are willing to give up their careers for this. And God bless you all that are doing that because you're making a stand. For whatever that stand is, God bless you, whether it's for health, for America, for your students, I don't know what it is, but God bless you teachers who are taking a stand, and God bless the teachers who are willing to fight it out and do this. Because I guarantee you the data that's going to come out and the psychological impact that's going to come out for years later by what's going to happen this fall with the teachers and the students wearing masks all day, you heard it first here. You did. And I will not consent to that. So I will not. But those teachers are a rock and a hard place. They really are. They really are. So right now, today, what can you do? Make that hard decision. If you're going to stay in school, if you're not going to homeschool, start contacting your people, the principal, the superintendent, find out who you need to talk to figure out what you need to do to get that medical waiver, not to get that mask. If you decide to homeschool, we're all in this together. There is great, wonderful people, and I'm going to be honest with you about the homeschooling. I don't know anything. I am starting ground level with this thing. Actually, not even ground level. I'm in the basement. Okay, so I'm going to start researching. I'm going to start reaching out to a lot of people who are experts at homeschooling because I am not. But just like I told you right from the beginning, when I don't know the answer to something, I am going to search it out. And guess what? My wife and I and the people that we put in our inner circle, we're going to figure it out. And we're going to make it a fantastic, wonderful experience. And I know that at least my kids will continue to have an education regardless of the tyrannical hammer that the governor brings down for political reasons over the next several months. Not on my watch, not with my kids. My right as an American, my right as a parent, my right as a human being. But if you needed a reason tonight to help us repeal this tyranny, to help us repeal that 1945 law, this is the video. You need to share it because I included in the description the link to Unlock Michigan, the Repeal 1945 Stand Up. It's right there in the description. After I'm done with this video, it will be saved, it will be shared, it will be pinned to the top. Go to that website. Give us your information. It's going to be your email. How do you want to contribute? We are looking for people to help circulate the petition, but we will get a hold of you. And we're going to do this over the next 90 days. I told you all since the beginning, number one, I will never give up on you. This is my baby that we've been fighting for ever since the beginning is Repeal 1945. That is what we have said right from the beginning that we are going to do. And I'm a man of my word, and I'm going to follow through with my word. And this is it. The next 90 days, I'm going to live and breathe in this thing. So share this video. Be a part of it. Of what happened today over the last couple of days. This should give you your why that you need to do this petition. This gives you your why to share this petition. This gives you your why to be a part of something bigger than self to make sure that this never, ever happens again. That's what you can be a part of. And we never have to go through this garbage again. That's how powerful this can be. So check out the description. Put your information in. Tell us how you want to contribute. And we're going to get this done, Michigan. This is it. Just like I told you in the video the other day, this is our fourth quarter. And I know you're tired. I know you're frustrated. I know you're angry. I know you're very, very upset, just like me. But this is when we have to dig in deep. This is when we have to come through. It's the fourth quarter and we have 90 days. Let's get it done, which I know every single one of you been fantastic ever since the beginning. But this is our Super Bowl event. So be a part of it. Share it. Share it to everybody. Get involved. Okay? Any questions, let us know. God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. And God bless these United States. Goodbye.